in an era of social distancing, you would think things like this we could at least make happen easier, but I guess we're faced with all sorts of problems these days.
I know, man. I'm so sorry that I didn't know why. I was like, "What's wrong with my phone?" I didn't get a call. I couldn't hear it. But anyway, good to hear your voice, brother.
Well, you too. This is such a pleasure for us, and I know that that you've been keeping busy during all this time. I know that we've been in so many things that we've enjoyed seeing you in. This is just so great to have you. I just kind of want to
Thank
start
you.
with kind of some of your latest projects. Tell us a little more about Ball of Confusion and Inherit the Land for those that aren't aware.
Well, Ball of Confusion is the documentary about the history of basketball and its global impact. It's not just about basketball per se, but how basketball has affected our country. And I think that it's in a positive manner. And when Naismith invented it in 1891, it wasn't for money. It was just to give the football players outside to do something inside because it was too cold. And look where it's become. So, and we had our a really nice premiere at Regal Cinema here in Knoxville at the Cinebar. And we had 2 theaters packed. And in fact, they had about 70 or 80 people were not able to get in it was just really overwhelming. So we're going to have another screening, another premiere before it goes around the country. So I wanted to give Knoxville that first look of all the people that helped me make this movie. Documentaries, you're constantly working on them. It's like never over. It's like the never-ending story. But you got to know when to stop. So I said, okay, I got to stop. So that's a Ball of Confusion. I made it with Keith Zimmerman, who is my business partner, and he's one of the best, if not the best, sports historian on the planet. He's got more information on especially basketball and football and baseball than anybody. And we actually have it's called the Berg Ball. Hitler chose that ball for the final game in 1936. Wow. He wouldn't have any American products. So we have that ball on display. And we want to travel around to the games. But, of course, now, we put everything to a halt.
Right.
So we were – it's amazing. You got a movie getting ready to go out, and then all of a sudden the plague hits the world. So, yes. But nothing stays the same, Inherit the Land is a documentary about an unbelievable town, a place in Marvin, North Carolina. I had never heard of. Have you ever heard of Marvin?
No.
No.
I hadn't either. Heard of Marvin Gaye,
Absolutely.
And so there's a book called Inherit the Land, and I thought, well, that's close to me. That's close to Tennessee. I went to school in North Carolina in Montreat Anderson. It was a junior college when I was there, Montreat College now, I think. But I had never heard of Marvin. And this little town, there was two ladies. They were sisters. They were the most wealthiest ladies in the land, in the state. In fact, the banks would borrow money from them. So they didn't have children of their own. So at that time, the turn of the century, like 1920, there was still, people that had a lot of white people were having black people work for them in a slave kind of situation. And it was Jim Crow, from 1870 to 1965, mm-hmm. Jim Crow, was apparent. But for this little town, they didn't have that. They didn't see color. They went to church with each other. They worked together. In fact, this story destroys so many myths that blacks and whites have had for 100 years. And that's what made me, once I read it, I was like, I have to do something about this. Like, for instance, all blacks pick cotton. That wasn't true, or all blacks were slaves then. That wasn't true. These women raised this little girl, this little black girl, and her father. They worked for them. They weren't slaves. They worked for them, but they treated them like family. They lived in the mansion. They took them shopping. They walked down the street with the little girl in their hand in hand, and course, being powerful women, nobody said anything. I mean, not to their face anyway.
Yeah.
So they were looked at as a little strange, but who isn't strange these days? What's normal? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So they proved that there were, people could live together like normal, like we should. Black and white, doesn't matter what color you are. They put her to college, and then when in their will, they left over 800 acres of prime real estate to this little girl and her father, and it was just unheard of. So the courthouse where the trial took place, there was over 100 people that testified. There was over 100 people tried to take it away from them. So, but they 12 white men in the jury, because women couldn't, be on the jury at that point, awarded this little girl the land. And that was a feat that they don't put in history books and things. I thought people need to see a good story where people are actually normal. They don't care about what color you are. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're a bad person, it's not because you're what your color is. You're just a bad human being or a good human being. So that was the purpose of me wanting to make this movie. And I'm making it with Jim Johnson, my business partner here in Knoxville.
Yeah, Cylk. I mean, you posted a sneak peek about that. I watched that. It's a powerful story. So I urge, when that's out and available to see, everyone to go see that, because it is an extremely powerful story. You just gave the background right there, and it's unbelievable. And people definitely need to hear that. And also, it's funny how you mentioned how a documentary is just kind of seemingly never over, but you've got to stop it at some point, because Clint and myself are currently making a documentary on SEC football called Saturday Supremacy. We quit our regular jobs in the fall of 2018, and we lived there in Farragut, Tennessee, your neck of the woods there in Knoxville, during the college football season. Went to a different game every weekend, but our home base was there in Farragut, Tennessee.
Yeah, we were neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Carnes, so that's kind of a Farragut adjacent.
It was, yeah. So we definitely understand the trials and tribulations of documentary filmmaking. As a year and a half later, we're still working on it, and I know you know how that is. So we're in the same boat there.
Absolutely. I mean, the big difference in a documentary than a feature, I mean, you are constantly getting material and footage of things that are terribly important and germane to your story. And then, of course, sadly, people die along the way. And, I love to give credence to people that, whether they put in $1 or just, carried water on the set. Anybody that helps me, I like to give them recognition. So the credits in Ball of Confusion is like, 6-7 minutes or whatever. But I tried to make it entertaining. So I had like a little something going on the left or the right side of the credits as they roll. Just little things that kind of keeps the mind going. But, I think it's important to give people that help you along the way, accolades for that,
Oh, absolutely. And just outside of the film and television world, like, how did you get into making your own whiskey? We got your Cylk Tennessee whiskey out there, and just let people know a little bit more about that.
Well, I think most entertainers they envision a product line of some sort, and I like wine, and it started with that. I wanted to have a wine. I thought, that would be a kind of cool product to have. It's Cylk, and it sounds smooth. Wine, you want to be smooth. You don't want to be tart or anything. And I thought, well, that would be so. Everything started from moonshine. Basically, and so there's a lot of very talented people that know how to make different brands of alcohol, from beer to vodka and rum and all that, and all the different drinks, and especially with rum and vodka, and now with the bourbon and whiskey. I didn't know anything. I don't really drink that much. I'll take a drink and drink a beer every once in a while, and I'm not a drinker per se, but I have an affinity for nice things and things that are working. and everybody seems to not have a problem with it. So what I did is I wanted to make sure it was, I said, well, if I like it, then I can't tell or judge how somebody else will like it. I can only go on if I like it. You know, it's like putting a movie out there. You can't judge before the movie comes out to see if your audience is going to like it or not. You have to be a fan of it. You have to like it. And if you like it, then you put it out. So that was the same thing with that. So I've been learning as much as I can. It's a daily grind on learning. You just keep learning. Like the difference in bourbon and whiskey, like bourbon has to have at least 51%, rye and stuff. So you have to, and then the blending, this is a blend. It's a whiskey bourbon blend. So whiskey is Tennessee really originated, and bourbon is a Kentucky thing. And my best friend is from Kentucky, Larry Clemens. I'm from Tennessee. So I said, well, we'll do a blend. And he said, you can't do that. You can't do that. I was like, yes, you can. Why not? Who says I can't make a blend?
Watch me.
I said, why not? I mean, if it tastes good. So found out, it actually tastes really good, and got to choose the bottle, and it's my signature on the bottle in a font, in a calligraphy form, and it turned out really well, and people really like it. And the beer, we have a beer called Country Roads beer. I didn't know if we could get that trademark, but you can't own Country Roads, that term. You know, the song is one thing with John Denver and two other writers with him. And we're redoing that song to make it more like today as well. And hopefully we'll play that in the football games, at the stadiums. So I'm just having a good time with all this. I always tell people, try everything you possibly can. Do as much as you can before you leave this world. Don't worry about it. When people say, why would you can't do that? I'm like, well, they're saying they can't do that. They don't see themselves able to do that. They're not really saying you can't. So that's been my motivation. I don't know if does that answer that?
That is tremendous, and we absolutely agree. Life's way too short to not pursue all your passions.
Yes.
And I speaking of Tennessee sports, I did see, and a lot of people that don't realize that the mayor of Knox County is Glen Jacobs. I saw you in a picture with him at like a Tennessee basketball game back when there was college basketball. March Madness, of course, is next. But the Tennessee Volunteers, who have an assistant coach, Kim English, he played here at Mizzou, and now he's an assistant under Rick Barnes. He's a great friend of ours, great guy. And now Glen Jacobs, Kane from WWE, is the mayor of Knox County. We got to move back to Knox County. Apparently, we're missing out on all this.
Let me tell you guys. First of all, I have mad respect for anyone that is that level of an athlete like Glen Jacobs. Jacobs. And second of all, which is probably first of all, he's probably the smartest guy in the room, in any room. He's highly intelligent and very caring. You don't realize you're looking at a 6'11", 300-pound monster man that has a smile of an angel. I mean, he is so gifted and so kind and just really present. I've had several meetings with him because I'm trying to put a studio together here in Knoxville, which a film studio, kind of like Tyler Perry has done. But I was trying to do that way before anybody heard of Tyler Perry. Yeah. But I guess because we have two mayors here in a 300,000, populated area. I don't know why, but we have two mayors we got to deal with. So it's been a task, but I'm looking to take over the mall, the East Town Mall, and make a movie studio out of that. So I met with him, and let me tell you, this man is so kind and just like I said, very intelligent. He cares about people, and you know it right away. Right away. And what an athlete, huh? What an athlete! Who would have thought he's going to be our mayor?
Absolutely. I know it's crazy growing up watching him as his character Kane in WWE, and he's wrestled as of, I think, a year ago. He and The Undertaker took on Triple H and Shawn Michaels in Saudi Arabia. It's unbelievable. And now he's the mayor. And man, it's just, I tell you what, Knoxville, was one of the best experiences no one I ever had when we lived there for that short time. And it's a place I could go back to. It's an unbelievable place, and I know that you know that. And it's great that you'd be able to turn a film studio out of that and make something of it. And I hope that happens.
Well, that's what we're shooting for. If it's not the mall, it's got to be something comparable, because look at the malls closing across the country. I mean, they're just like these big dinosaur stores. There are dinosaurs around that they don't know what to do with them. They're already built for a certain amount of people daily. So they're already built for a lot of people. And usually the land surrounding and the circumference of the physical space, you can do live events. There's so many things you can do. I just pictured a little Disney or a Warner Brothers there, and you could take a 2-story, say, Sears building, take the ceiling out, and you've got these high ceilings that you can use as like the studios, the big studios. So that's my dream and my goal. If somebody wants to take it, if they can do it, go ahead and do it. But I think it's perfect, because you can do music, film, and television, and live events in one area, and satellite it wherever you need. And Paramount, Warner Brothers, Sony, Fox, they can all come here and film. We can lease it out to them for $1 million a day. We'll make some money. It'll be all right.
Absolutely. We hope that happens for you, Cylk. But rewinding here, kind of going back in time to the start of your acting career, in 1988, you get cast in School Daze, a Spike Lee joint that's got to be huge for you. And it's also with Giancarlo Esposito, who'd go on to become one of television's best villains as Gus Fring in Breaking Bad.
Love Giancarlo. Wonderful, actually wonderful actor and a great guy. Great. It was just, School Daze was so much fun. I can't even tell you how much fun that was. Just being in Atlanta for 10 weeks. Making that film. It was while Dominique Wilkins and Spud Webb was playing too. I got to see my guys. I'd stay with Dominique on the weekend, and then during the week I would be in the hotels with the cast members. I introduced Spike and Dominique and Spud. That was fun.
That's amazing.
Everything reversed back to basketball with me.
Right.
Seems like.
Well, equally as important, of course, in your career was Slam Dunk Ernest. Now, I mean that, kind of tongue in cheek. We're both huge fans of Jim Varney and Ernest. But you did Slam Dunk Ernest in '95. As big fans of Ernest and the Ernest films and Jim Varney, just kind of talk about what it was like working with him. Obviously, he passed away back in 2003.
Yes. First of all, Jim Varney was so talented, had an incredible voice. He had an opera. He could sing opera. He collected watches. He had probably 150 watches in these cases that he traveled with. I mean, he had every kind of watch you could name. I was like, wow. And he just so smart and kind. You wouldn't recognize him if he didn't contort his face the way that he does with Ernest B. War. Yeah. He looks just like a normal guy, and played Jed Clampett in the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yep.
Right. This man was, and he was such a kind man and a giving actor. Him and John Cherry, the director, they were partners, and they did, all those Ernest movies. And we shot that in Vancouver. And I got to work with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was an experience. But just basketball, to tell a story, is a great platform. It's a great platform. So, White Man Can't Jump. I keep going back to that. Ron Shelton, how much I learned. He said, this movie's not about basketball. I was like, it's not. No, it's about relationships. A girl has a drinking problem. Her boyfriend has a gambling problem, and they meet people that just trying to make money the best way they can, and that's what the story's about. And they go around from city to city, and I was like, that's an incredible story, So I learned that basketball was a great place to tell a story, a great platform. But Jim Varney, what a man. He wanted to take me boar hunting, but I was afraid to go. I was like, Jim, I don't know about that. He goes, come on, go down to Nashville. I live out there about Nashville. We'll go get us a boar or two. I was like, Jim, you go ahead, brother. I'll watch you. you know.
Well,
So he was an interesting, wonderful man. We lost a great one there.
We did.
yeah, back in 2000. Cylk, you know, basketball obviously is a huge part of your life, and I mean, you've done, not only did White Men Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes and
Blue
Woody
Chip.
Harrelson, amazing film, but Blue Chips as well. I think that's one of the more underrated sports movies of all time. Nick Nolte, it's tremendous. But you almost made a professional career out of basketball yourself, but you got injured in an
Yes.
NBA summer league in Los Angeles. So kind of take us through this whole thing. You're a basketball player, you're an athlete yourself, and then being in these amazing basketball films that are really transcendent.
Well, I like most young boys growing up in America, you dream about playing basketball. You dream about playing college. You dream about playing pro. So when I was 12 years old, I wrote a letter to myself, by the way, and I spelled professional with 2 F's. You know? And I said I want to play college basketball, and then I want to be an actor, and I want to direct. I want to be a director, and then I want to play professional basketball for 10 years. And I was like,
Wow.
I don't know why I said 10 years, but anyway, and that's kind of what happened. When I graduated from King, it was King College then, it's King University now in Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee. It's right on the line there. A small school, and if you don't play in a major university that gets television time, you unless you're scoring, averaging 50 points a game, nobody knows who you are. You could be the highest jumper in the world, but if you don't play on TV, nobody knows who you are. So I thought, I don't care. If I'm good enough, I'm going to try out for the pros. So my coach at the time, Al Nida at King University, said, look, I'll try to get you a tryout with somebody. He got me a tryout with Denver and with the Nuggets. And when I went out there, I thought it was the summer league. Actually, he got me tried. I thought if I made that, I made the team. But I just made the summer league, right?
Yeah.
And then another summer league was coming after that. It was a 2-part summer league. Larry Kreger and Jim White ran that league. And so I made that. And then I was so excited, but I ran out of money during the second part of the camp, right? And I'm just, you have to put yourself up. And I didn't have any sponsors. I didn't know anything about sponsors or sponsorship. I came out there with a couple $100 and the first half, I made it. Then the second, I didn't know there was a second half. So I went to the hotel manager and I said, look, can I work for you or something? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, because I don't have enough money to stay another week or 2 weeks for the camp. I'm in this camp, an NBA camp. And he goes, son, the Nuggets have already picked up your tab. You're good. And I thought, yeah, right. Maybe you got my name mixed up there. It's Cylk Cozart. He said, no. Ben Job was a scout at that time for the Nuggets, and he had scouted me. And he liked my quickness. He liked the way I could shoot. And by the way, Pete Maravich taught me how to shoot when I was 12 at an all-sports camp. Yeah, I didn't even know who he was. And he came up to me and goes, boy, what are you looking at when you looking up there? He was so country. I was like, what's this guy 6'5", these gray sagging socks coming in? I was like, he goes, let me tell you, he taught me how to shoot. But anyway, I tried out in the summer league, and the last game of the second part of the summer league, I came down on somebody's foot and fractured my left foot, and that was it. I heard a pop. Next thing I know, I'm waking up. That's when they had that ammonia, whatever that little thing they popped under your nose, and you would wake up. So that ended that, and I went to Florida, and that's when I started modeling, doing commercials, and I said, well, now I can act like I can play basketball instead of just being a ball player. But I wanted to try out after the cast came off, because they didn't have orthoscopic surgery then. So they just, just put a cast and said, you might be able to walk without a limp. We don't know, but it's not gonna be pretty. So I went to Miami. That's when I met my best friend, Larry Clemens there. He was already there. And just to heal. And I said, when I heal, I'm going to try out, because the Dallas Mavericks were getting ready to have a new team in the next year or so. It was going to be an expansion team. I said, I'll try it with Dallas. Well, before that's when I started acting, doing commercials and modeling. And I just kind of went to New York after that. So had a good stint. A lot of my friends are playing the NBA now, played, then. And it's just a great thing to feel that I got to play a little bit. I played in the what they call, it would be like a AAA league. Played for the Allentown Jets, if you can imagine that. And I played against, he wasn't really playing that much, but he played Wilt Chamberlain. He owned the Hawaii Volcano. Yeah, and let me tell you, he set a pick one time. My head hit him in the hip bone. So, it tells you. But anyway, so I got to play a little semi-pro basketball, and then I played a little bit in the ABA when they were in LA. I guess a couple of celebrities had owned the Hollywood Fame at that time.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the 6'11" guy played for Detroit? He had a show called Best Damn Sports Show.
John Sally.
John Sally was one of the owners.
Yeah, John Sally.
Of the team. Yeah. And so, and the ABA is not what it was, At that time, we had to drive ourselves to the games. Like, golly, I didn't care. I would have paid them to play, I would have paid them to play. But the coach, he didn't know my age. He thought he'd seen me play somewhere, and I was 40, in my 40s at that point.
Oh.
And I was in the layup line one time, and he kept looking at me, walks over, he goes, did you play anywhere in Spain, or where do I know you from? I was like, no, sir. I didn't want to tell him. He'd probably see me in the movies. I was like, oh, God, he's going to kick me out. But because I could play, I could stay. And then I was like the 12th man, but I got to play. It made about $1,000 a game. Played for a few games, and then that was it. And then the acting just kept, making movies and more movies. So that's what I'm saying. Just try everything you can, man. This life's too short. I don't care what somebody says about you can or can't do. Nobody should be able to tell you what you can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. That might give you more motivation. Look what Kobe said in that little thing. I put that in the end of my movie when he speaks about a guidance counselor once told him, you need to give up basketball and start learning stuff, work with your hands, boy.
Wow.
God dang.
So, yeah, what would the world miss if he'd have taken that advice? So, anyway, yeah, that was my my stint in the NBA. But because I was able to play in summer leagues, I got to play against a lot of NBA players that they said, man, you be in the league. You should be in the league. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not. You got to, if you don't get in the right time, it doesn't matter. If you don't play on the right team that you fit in, it doesn't matter. Then you know how that is. So you guys know that.
Oh, absolutely. And another film I got to talk to you about, maybe a lesser known film, but in 1996, you were in a film called Reggies Prayer, former Tennessee Vol Reggie White, his wife and kids, Brett Favre, Pat Morita, MC Hammer, The Big Show, Gail Sayers, Willie Roaf, Mike Holmgren, Rosie Greer, Mel Renfro. I mean, I could keep going on this thing. I've got to watch this. This just a cast of characters from all walks of life. It's amazing.
Well, first of all, it didn't matter. The movie was the secondary, just meeting all these people.
Oh, absolutely.
It was like Reggie White, as you know, what a man he was. Yeah. And his wife, Sarah, wonderful, wonderful woman. She's like my sister. And Reggie called me up one day and said, Cylk, I just bought a film company, a film studio. I was like, what are you talking about? Would you buy Warner Brothers? You got that much money, Reggie? And he said, no. He said in Oregon. And I said, what do you want me to do? He says, I want you to be in the movie and help me put it together. And I said, well, okay. And I said, is anybody else in it? And he said, well, we're talking to Pat Morita. And Pat Morita said, if you do it, he'll do it. I said, Karate Kid, Pat Morita? I said, I've never met Pat Morita. He goes, he likes you. And he said, if you do it, he's going to do it. I said, well, I'm doing it. I said, he told me what it was about him quitting the NFL at the height of his career to go back to a small town to help some kids that are going through some things. And he said that was more rewarding than winning a Super Bowl. But then in the movie, after he helps the kids, he goes back to the NFL and he actually wins the Super Bowl. And he actually won the Super Bowl after we did the movie. But then he died, after that. So that was a very, I could just go on and on. The Big Show, what a one. We became friends. I didn't know. Obviously, I had never heard of him at that time. He was 25 years old then, 26,
Yeah.
and it was 7 foot, like 5 or something, about
Yep.
400 pounds. And I said, and we shot basketball one day in between scenes at the gym. We were having lunch there in Portland, Oregon. And I said, why did you play basketball? He goes, no, they wouldn't let me. And then I'm watching him play, and he's dribbling the ball behind his back and throwing no-look passes and shooting jumpers. And I was like, you should be in the NBA right now. What are you talking about? He points to his chest, and he goes, my heart. And I went, oh, wow. He would have played. And I thought, well, wrestling, he told me, I'm a wrestler. I said, yeah, okay. So we've remained friends. And Pat Morita, up to the day he died, we were friends. Just, the great thing about movie sets, you're with somebody for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, you get to know each other, pretty well. You see them every day. They become your family, or, some people you don't want to ever see again. But, like Conspiracy Theory, I'm still friends with Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson. No matter what Mel was going through, I was like, man, I felt for him. But every film I've done, I try to stay in touch with some, with people that you built some kind of rapport with. But yeah, Reggies Prayer was, I just wanted to do that to be with Reggie and because I knew he was a good man, and to have fun with somebody from your hometown and do a movie with them is like, how many times you get to do that?
That's amazing.
I'm living out my childhood dream. Every movie, every day, everything that I do, it seems like it's a part of that childhood dream that I've always had.
That's amazing. I don't know if Noah's told you or not, but Cylk, we are actually in the midst of reviewing all 86 episodes of Saved by the Bell. Of course, in 1990, you come in the fold as Lieutenant Chet Adams during the Zacs War episode. You were in one episode that we're still talking about 30 years later. Talk about how this came to be, how you were able to be a part of the show, maybe meeting with Peter Engel, some of the producers from the show. It's a magical moment we'll never forget.
Well, it's certainly a magical moment I won't forget. And I didn't realize just how big television was until I did that show. I think I'd had a couple of movies out, but, I wasn't the star. I was one of the stars, but I didn't carry the film at that point. But, the producers of that show and the directors were all everybody was on the same page. And that's when you really have a hit show, when everybody's on the same page. And all the cast members were everyone had their character down. They were so nice. They were friends off the show. I don't know about now, but they were there, and it was absolute fun. And being the Lieutenant Adams, I believe,
yes,
was my character. I don't know if you remember the scene with me and Zach when he was going to quit, or I thought he was going to quit. I still remember those lines. It's weird because I've done movies that made hundreds of millions of dollars. I can't remember the lines to, but this little TV series that I thought was cheesy at first, and then I realized, wait a minute, kids are watching this. They ain't got nothing to do with being cheesy. There's a story behind every show, and what would I have done? I would have loved to have been a part of that at that age, and I just remember everything about it. It was just fun, and it was just a kind set. And I was very fortunate to be a part, especially that episode. They said that episode was one of the most, if not the one, most popular one. That's what Peter Engel said. Sent me a gift. They was just so nice to me. And, you never know how people are going to transfer from this to the next stage. And I think quite a few of them did really well, and they're doing well now. So, yeah. I was walking down the streets of New York after that came out, and people would come up and go, "Hey, how you doing, man? How you doing?" And they would salute. People would salute me. I was like, "What the heck are they doing?" And a couple came up and said, "Man, I really loved you in that. Man, you were so good." I'm like, I'm thinking they're talking about I can't know what. I think it was School Days or something. Something was out that I thought they were talking about, and And I said, "Oh, what did you see?" And I said, "Oh, Saved by the Bell, man. That was great." And I went, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." And so everywhere I went, it was like that. And so now, I mean, at that point, a lot of actors were not doing a lot of big stars were not doing TV. It was like, "Oh, I don't do TV," you know. And I'm like, "Why would you not do TV?" And they said, "Well, if you're a star, a big star, like a movie star, and you do a television show," this is what the thinking was at this time.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a big star and you do a television show, and people can see you every day, they're not going to want to pay to see you in a film, to go out of their house to pay for you. I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then now, you know, everybody's trying to do TV. Isn't that, after that, all stars were trying to, "Can I get a show, please? Can I please get a show?" You know. Anyway, and then, you know, here we are 30 years later talking about it. So I think I made the right decision.
Oh, absolutely. That episode was huge, and they've got a reboot going. I don't know if they asked you to be a part of it, would you come back? Would you be a part of the reboot?
Oh man, if they did, I got some messages from some folks that were on the show, and they were saying that exact thing. And I said, I will come there anytime you guys want me on that show. You know, same with most of the work that I've done. I would love to do to work with these people again. You know, it's a once in a lifetime thing. But yeah, especially that group, and the Ron Sheltons and the Dick Donners of the world. You know, like Dick Donner did Superman. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
he got an Academy Award winner, Brando, for one day to play Superman's father. Paid him $1 million. That was one day. But Brando didn't want to do it. That's why he just won the Academy. You know, he was huge in The Godfather. He just won Academy Award for The Godfather. So next, you're going to be your agent calls you and says, "Superman's father." He's like, "What? No, I'm not going to play Superman comic books father. Are you kidding me? I'm the Godfather." You know. And then he said, "Just tell them I'm not interested." And they said, "Well, they really want you." And this is Dick Donner telling me this. And he says, "Well, okay, well, I'll tell you what, just give us a figure." And he told his agent, he said, "Tell him I have $1 million for the day." And they said, "Mr. Brando, that's not going to happen." They called him back within 20 minutes and said, "It's done." So he had to do it. He had to do it. It was great. I thought that was funny. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Cylk, we have a very special treat for our listeners here that are huge fans of Saved by the Bell and that are a big fan of the Zacs War episode, starring yourself as Lieutenant Ched Adams, because we have a scene here we're going to do. You, of course, as Lieutenant Ched Adams, Noah playing the role of Zach Morris, and if ever there were a person to play Zach Morris in a scene, it's my confidant and my friend here, Noah. So I can't wait to see how this goes.
Oh, that's great.
If you guys are ready, I will go ahead and call to action here, and we can make this happen.
You call action. You call action. I'll kick it off.
Okay, scene.
Nice work, Morris. Personally, I think you didn't stand a chance, but hey.
Well, thank you, sir. You didn't give me much of a choice.
Well, you got what you wanted, Morris. Guess this is goodbye.
Why, sir? Are you quitting?
Not me.
Well, not me either. Someone told me the Corps doesn't like a quitter. And scene.
Wow. So that was so amazing.
And the salute, and the salute, and they freeze frame on the salute.
The double salute.
Like, wow. Yeah.
That is amazing.
I know, right?
Oh, you know what? It's just been...
You guys are great.
Hey, it's been such a pleasure doing this with you, and especially now in these times where you can't go to a movie, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to a concert or a basketball game. It's times like this where to be able to sit back and reflect on some of these great moments makes it also worth it to us. So thank you so much for doing this with us today, and we'll have to catch up again down the road, man. Anytime you have something to do, something to promote, when your basketball film comes out, anything else does, you hit us up. We'll promote it for you.
I'm calling you. You guys are making this world a much better place by making us feel better by your shows.
That means a lot. That means a lot. So thank you so much. We'll catch up again soon.
God bless you all.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Cylk,
I
got to say, when all this calms down, hopefully soon here, July, August, whenever everything gets calmed down back to normalcy, we'd love to come out to Knoxville, interview you about just Tennessee football, Tennessee athletics, and the city of Knoxville, what it means, and have you in our film Saturday Supremacy.
I would love that, and consider be my guest, and we'll go over UT athletic. I have a little carte blanche over there. We'll go all over the place over there.
Oh, that sounds great. We'll do it.
We'll take you up on that for sure, my friend.
Once you can interact with humans again, we'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that. And I'll take you to the distillery out at 407 at the Old Tennessee Distillery where we make the bourbon.
Oh, absolutely.
And at Marty Vallis's place at the brewery, at that Fanatic Brewery. You'll love that too, where we make country roads.
Amazing. That's our kind of stuff. Yeah, we love it. Thank you so much, Cylk. We'll catch up soon, my man.
You're welcome.
It was an honor.
Thanks, guys.